Well, throughout my internet travels as of late, I've heard some pretty wacky stuff. And one of the more wackier things that I have heard here recently is that the savior for Harley-Davidson is out there. He's been found. Now it's just a matter of convincing him to buy the company. So as I think about it though, the more I think about it, it might not be so wacky. Let's discuss. So before we jump into the topic, just see the links in the description of this video. I've partnered up with some great companies to give the Burris Point audience some cool discounts on different types of things. There's discounts for retailers for motorcycle gear, parts for your motorcycle, and soon we'll be adding another sponsor here shortly. Keep watching that video description in all the videos that I post and save you a couple dollars and also support the channel. Now, I wish I could take credit for this idea, but I can't. I've seen another YouTuber actually do a video on this topic, but I have a different opinion as they do on this. And there's, I guess we're reaching kind of similar conclusions, but for different reasons. There's no secret that the Harley-Davidson Motor Company is experiencing all kinds of problems right now. I recently did a video on the hardwire strategy and how that is starting to fail. The cracks in the hardwire strategy are starting to show with the most recent sales figures from Harley-Davidson resulting in a loss. But the idea here is that there is a savior for the motor company out there, and if he were to buy the motor company, he could turn it around, and that person is Elon Musk. Now, this guy, he's steeped in a lot of controversy right now. I know that on the political spectrum, there's a lot of people who have an opinion of Elon Musk, but I'm going to talk about him in an apolitical fashion. We're just going to talk about his business dealings and what he's been doing in the business world. We're not going to talk about all the stuff that he's done in government. But taking a look at Elon Musk's background and taking a look at Harley-Davidson, you've got a tech guru here who he made his money in tech. He owns a couple of high-tech companies, and you've got, actually he owns 3 high-tech companies now that I think about it. He owns SpaceX, owns Tesla, and owns X. So these are all companies that, you know, you got the high-tech stuff over here, and then you have a 100-plus-year-old motorcycle company that's steeped in tradition over here. And at first blush, you may say, well, these things just would not get along. And I would tend to agree with you. It'd be hard if you just took somebody, you know, and you weren't talking about Elon Musk, but if you took just somebody who was involved in the tech world, it might be hard to see how they can make a difference in a motorcycle company. But because it is Elon Musk, there's a few things that we know about him. And I would say that if that were to happen, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think things would change with Harley-Davidson, but it wouldn't be an absolute death knell for the motor company. So some of the hallmarks of Elon Musk and what he brings to business is, one, the guy is super smart. He understands the business models that he runs, and they're all based on ruthless efficiency. He demands people to work extremely hard for him. He demands that people put in their all towards their respective companies, and he demands efficiency above most else. And so we've seen that in X, where he came in, bought the company and gutted it, removed all the DEI, removed all the extraneous people who weren't really doing anything. He cut a bunch of jobs at X and left a skeleton crew there that was able to run the platform, albeit they were griping about it. They were still able to function. The platform was still able to function as it had been. So there really wasn't a noticeable loss to the end user. So he was able to streamline that company and run it efficiently. The whole reason why SpaceX exists is that Elon Musk saw an opportunity there to work with former NASA engineers, former people who came out of NASA and the Space Administration and other aerospace industries, and they said, we can do this, we can do space flight, we can do it way more efficiently than the government can, we can do it for way less money and way more capability than the government ever could. And so SpaceX has actually built itself up in that particular niche of more efficient space flight. And then you take a look at Tesla, who Elon Musk has built from the ground up to be as efficient a company as possible, having machines who build machines and having gigafactories that are geared towards producing these electric cars, electric vehicles in as efficient a manner as possible, with the idea being that these electric cars should be made affordable. We're going to start with the premium stuff first and then work our way down to the most affordable models that everyday people can buy in order to get electric car adoption. So that's a little bit about what Elon can potentially bring to the table in a business deal. On the other side of the house, we've got the Harley-Davidson Motor Company. It's been around for 100 plus years, and under the current CEO, Johann Zeitz, they've seen some issues with the new Hardwire business strategy. Hardwire, and I did a previous video about this, kind of going into Hardwire in detail, but Hardwire focuses on maximizing profit per unit. They're cutting a lot of the lower profit units, but that they're getting away from volume sales. So if it doesn't make a certain amount profit, they're not even interested in it. They were really big on DEI and things like that in the beginning under Johann Zeitz, trying to build inclusive biker communities, things of that nature. These were all things that kind of turned the Harley-Davidson world on its head and are continuing to do so, leading into a Q4 of 2024 loss for the motor company. The first loss, really big loss they've seen like that since COVID. One of the big drains on the Harley-Davidson pocketbook is LiveWire, this whole electric motorcycle project. And just like most electric motorcycle companies, they are experiencing problems with getting the market for the product. They're trying to market in the biker community, and they're just not finding a lot of purchase. All in all, I think it would be a net positive for the Harley-Davidson Motor Company if Elon Musk were to buy it. However, it would be a little bit different than what we know it today. I think initially one of the first things that Elon Musk would do is take the LiveWire project, which has been a consistent drain on the Harley-Davidson pocketbook, having reported loss after loss after loss and having these very expensive motorcycles that aren't really selling. I think immediately what he would do is break those off from Harley-Davidson and absorb them into Tesla. And this does two things. One, it removes it from the balance sheet of Harley-Davidson and removes it from the loss side of that. And two, the people who buy electric vehicles would be more apt to adopt an electric motorcycle. So if you take LiveWire and you bring it into Tesla, you optimize it with Tesla technology, you go through Tesla sales channels and you put it there on the website. The kind of people who are buying electric cars and trucks might be the same kind of people who want to buy an electric motorcycle. That's going to be a lot better sell, I think, in my head. It's going to be a lot easier sell to people who are already adopters of electric vehicle technology versus trying to sell electric motorcycles to gas bikers. It's just not, you're not going to find a whole lot of adoption there within that community. But for people who are already adopting electric, might be an easier sell. The next thing I think that would be important for the motor company, if Elon Musk were to buy it, is that Musk, his personal, again, we're going to tread lightly here because I try to stay as apolitical on this channel as possible. I don't care about your politics. Your motorcycle doesn't care about your politics. All it cares is that you get out and ride. But with Musk's personal politics, I would go out on a branch and venture to say that the way he personally feels about the woke culture is going to be a very similar way that a lot of the Harley-Davidson faithful feels about it. I do know that there's a very high likelihood he will not allow that to get into the motor company. And so a lot of these things, especially the woke bike controversy that has recently happened with Harley-Davidson, I don't think you would see any of that under Elon Musk. And so that would make a lot of the Harley-Davidson faithful, the people who are actually buying these motorcycles, that would make them very happy to know that all that DEI was removed root to tip from the company. One of the next things that Musk potentially could bring to the table is ruthless efficiency in the branding. Now here is a double-edged sword. With Tesla, we know that he does a lot of direct to consumer marketing, that he's actively shunned dealer networks and has no interest in entering into brand deals or anything like that with dealerships through the Tesla brand. However, with Harley-Davidson, you have a network of established dealerships who are the lifeblood of the brand. Usually they are the local face of the brand to the everyday riders who are riding these motorcycles, coming in and getting their motorcycles maintained, coming in to buy the swag, all of that stuff. And then you have Harley-Davidson outposts that aren't even selling bikes, they just sell the swag. So there would be something to square there with Elon Musk. Would he decide to shutter all of the dealerships and instead go to a direct-to-consumer model? Or would he wholeheartedly lean into it and help to keep the dealerships open? Or would he seek a third option and seek to start buying out these dealerships and have them be company stores all over the place? I could see options 2 and 3. I think that you really can't quit the dealership model cold turkey with Harley-Davidson, as the dealerships are so integral to the entire brand of Harley-Davidson. So you've got to have some kind of local presence. I think what might be likely to happen is some combination of 2 and 3. I think that he would start opening company stores or have the dealerships start to be bought out by the company. So they would be just straight company stores and would sell that way. It's a good question of how he would look at that and decide to approach it. But I don't see Harley-Davidson dealerships closing anytime soon. One thing I do think, though, is that Elon Musk generally, even though he's from South Africa, he has a better grasp on American culture than the current CEO, Johann Zeitz, currently has. I think he understands the biker community a little bit better than Zeitz does, even though he's been at the helm of Harley-Davidson and has been on the board. I don't think he can connect to the everyday motorcycle rider. So next, in that same vein, because Elon Musk gets some of the folks who ride Harley-Davidson, he also would be protective of American workers. I could see him bringing back production from all these places that Harley-Davidson has outsourced and bringing them to the United States. I think there's some great places in the United States, and I go over this in another couple of videos that I've done, but there are places in the United States where you can manufacture that you get tax abatements and things like that in order to come and produce in the U.S. And like I've said before, the South is quickly being known as the new Detroit because of the auto manufacturing that's going on here, the aerospace manufacturing that's going on here. So there's not a reason in the world why you couldn't bring motorcycle production to Alabama, to the Southeast. And yes, there are tax abatements and other incentives to bringing that manufacturing to a place like Alabama. Not only that, but in 2025, there's tariffs that are being flown around or that are being shot around the world. So you get to escape all those tariffs if you bring manufacturing back here. Also, because Elon Musk understands social media, I think that the motor company could embrace a generation of new riders, could reach out to some new riders, to younger people who are out there maybe interested in motorcycles. It has a potential to get a foothold in, especially when you're talking about new media, when you're going in and marketing to some of these younger folks, you have someone who understands that and can get a toehold in those demographics in order to sell motorcycles and get them brought into the Harley-Davidson culture. One of the other ways the company could potentially benefit from this is that Musk also understands the consumer. Now with Tesla, we've seen their strategy. They have started out with the most luxurious brands, They started out with the most luxurious brands at the top, started selling those and getting the early adopters to electric through there. And next thing you know, they have the Model 3, which is supposed to be the entry-level electric vehicle. Now, because they're electric vehicles, they're still expensive, but there's been different variations of Model 3 that have come out that are more and more affordable. So Musk understands affordability, and he understands that in order to really get the brand going, you've got to get affordable entry-level options that are available to the mass public. Contrast that to Johann Zeitz's plan under Hardwire, where they concentrate on the most profit per bike, being a premium motorcycle brand and cutting off those particular models that don't return the profit margin that they really want. They want to sell fewer bikes with a higher profit margin. So I would guess that particular reason right there is a lot of the reason why you see a lot of pricey bikes, why you see the prices of Harley-Davidsons, they're sky high. People can't afford them, and they're cutting off some of the on-ramps to get into Harley-Davidson. And only recently have they reversed course and tried to make some of these bikes more affordable. But in my opinion, it's a little too late. Now, a big question remains. Would Musk concentrate on trying to make Harley-Davidson all electric? Would he go all in on LiveWire? And I'm not sure that he would. I think that it's a situation where he would understand. I don't know if he would or wouldn't. You would hope that he would see the core Harley-Davidson business as being gasoline based. And although it's not necessarily, it's probably not the best for the environment or anything like that, but the fact remains is that it's a popular brand and people would want to buy these bikes if the company were optimized. If he were to inject, though, the main thing that would benefit the motor company would be for him to inject some of that ruthless efficiency into the business processes, make the company much more efficient, make it produce bikes much more efficiently, much more cheaply, and be able to pass those savings along to the consumer in a way that would make it more accessible for people to get into Harley-Davidson. Now, there is some risk here that by doing that, it would sacrifice the soul of Harley-Davidson a little bit. Would people in the Milwaukee factory, would they be laid off in favor of robots or something like that? It's possible. It's possible that Musk would get in there and see the human capital of people manufacturing these motorcycles and say, well, a robot can do that more quickly, more cheaply, things like that. That's possible. So there might be some efficiency pains there. People will get laid off, things of that nature. But if you contrast that to Johann Zeitz's vision, and what they've been doing is porting manufacturing overseas. If you port all of the manufacturing overseas, you're losing all those jobs anyway. At least introducing technology and having the machine build the machine in America, at least then you get to retain some of the jobs where machines just can't do what humans do. So anyhow, those are my thoughts. Are there any actual rumblings about Elon Musk coming in to save Harley-Davidson? I don't know of anything official on that. Like I said, all I've seen are rumors and other people speculating. And this, like I said earlier, is just a thought experiment as to what possibly could take place. It's no secret that the Harley-Davidson it's no secret that the motor company is in some kind of trouble. I would just hope that, if Elon Musk doesn't come in and buy the company, I would hope that they would do what they needed to do to save the company. And I've made a few videos on Harley-Davidson. Again, I'm not down on the motor company. I really want them to turn it around. But, these sales figures, these are alarming. So I really hope that someone's doing something about it over the motor company. Anyhow, these are just my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Would it be cool if Elon were to come in and buy it out and run it his way? Leave a comment below. We'd love to discuss it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video.